Good afternoon, everyone. Today is September 28th, 2022. It is 8:41 p.m. Globex has just started a few hours ago. I wanted to make this as brief as possible. However, we are looking into quite quite a few scenarios over the next couple days. Now, before I get into what I'm expecting for tomorrow's RTH session for September 29th, let's just briefly go over what's happened in the past several days, and let's also not forget that it is end of month and end of quarter where the books tend to be marked up a little bit. What we had was we gapped down, sold off. We caught a little bit of a bid at 76, and that's been an important number. Just keep that in mind, that 76 to 74 area. But anyway, sold off, came almost to the low, the 2021 low at 36.52 half, ramped up. The next day we opened near the highs, thought we could get into the gap, failed, sold off once again, held the lows, again opened at the highs, thought again we could get into the gap, rejected, and this time we fell to the low of the year at 36.39. We held it, kind of churned around between the low of the year and last year's low at a 52 half, and we ended up closing just around there. Today, what we had was we opened with quite positive breadth despite not being too far off from the close. You might want to attribute that to the ECB saying that they're going to restart their QE program or what have you. But regardless, all I knew were that stocks were up on the day and price on the ES was trading below the close. And of course, you can always have liquidation at any moment. However, it's hard to get liquidation going when over 1,000 stocks are up on the day in the New York Stock Exchange. So instead, we caught a bid right at that prior low at 52 half, got over that 76 number that's been so important over the past few days, got above it, got into last week's close at '07 quarter, and notably, in the past, since Friday's trading, we have had a pocket '09 half, and that's where we hit to the tick, and that ended up being critical support. That ended up holding and letting us finally churn around the highs of balance and get that breakout. Now, notably, although we broke out, we did not get it into the gap close at 63. What is it? 63 quarter, 63 half. So now I'm looking at two primary scenarios. Let's just pull up a volume profile for a second. And this is the volume profile of the week thus far. And we'll fatten that up just to make it a little bit prettier. I don't want to change the values though, so there we go. Our POC on the week is 68.75. Our value area low in the week is at 58. Our value area high is at around 37.17 half. Now, either we will hold kind of the breakout bid at 23 quarter, which corresponds with the July low of the month at 23.75. Either we'll hold this breakout bid, ramp up, clear today's high of the day, get that gap close, and then either we'll have a fade off the gap close, or we'll move up to the highs of this balance area and move up to the spike base from FOMC at 32. Or the other primary scenario is we fail to hold the breakout bid, fail to hold the volume. This has been a POC over the past 4 days if you include Friday's session, right at '09 half. We get below that volume, and then you're looking at a scenario where now that we're back inside the week's value, back inside all that volume, you would expect a move down to either the developing weekly POC or weekly value area low. And given that you've had a breakout into a gap, failure to close the gap, and then moving back inside balance, I would be expecting these swing lows to break. Now, there are many places here where the market can find a bid. However, overall, higher time frame momentum will be down, and therefore, I'm not looking to trade this wide area, this 60-point range. Simply put, it's going to be choppy as the market will be somewhat liquidating, yet simultaneously trying to catch bids on the way down. There is smaller structure and pox and this and that in these areas. So what I'll be waiting for is to see if we can take out Tuesday's low of the day and then shorting 39.5, 23.75, and 13. This is the November POC right around it, and this is a balance area or right around it from back in June or so. Maybe even, actually, sorry, further back in 2020, this is a balance area. And I have other areas of interest that I will not be trading, however, watching to see how they do. So this video is getting a little bit long. I know it's 5 minutes for a daily video. However, we have two main scenarios. Let's draw these out. Come on. There we go. Two main scenarios. We hold the pivot, come up, and either reject the gap close and then we just kind of churn somewhere like that, or we continue to move on up. We hold the pivot, get into the gap, get into last week's value area, all that sort of stuff, kind of turn around, and then make our way up to 38.03, break it, and then we can look for a long. I'm not interested in trading above here just because the structure is so poor on low time frames due to the FOMC event. However, I will be looking along 0.75, the top of this balance zone. That's one of our scenarios, is holding the pivot, and either there's a fade off of here or we get to long 0.75. I don't really care what happens. Or we fail to hold the pivot, we fail to hold the volume and sort of the main support at 0.9.5. We come back inside the week's value area. We're offered a short, we take it, and we expect the market to come back down sort of to the developing weekly POC around 68, or the developing weekly value area around 57, and likely for these swing lows to be taken out, and we go ahead and we short these levels accordingly. Hope that makes sense. In general, we're still playing inside quite a large balance zone, and you should be aware of not trying to get stuck inside of the value area. I would be careful fading this simply because we now have 4 days of inventory below. So a fade is likely a little bit scary, shall I put it? A little bit low probability, perhaps, is a better term, as we are still below last week's value area at 77.5. And simultaneously, I wouldn't really want to take this long, as again, we're below last week's value area, and the market is still a little bit weak in this spot. Instead, I would just rather not take the trade and see if I can get a long on it around 0.3 or these balance highs somewhere. Hope that makes sense. I might change the levels just a little bit based off of Globex's action. Apologies for the long video. However, I hope that helps. Give me a follow on Twitter if you want to see an update to the levels. I usually do by a tick or two before the open based on how Globex moves. Other than that, that is generally how I'm looking at the market for tomorrow's RTH session. Hope that helps. Trade safe and don't do anything stupid.